What is up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of FitBizU. I'm your host, Jill Coleman, and y'all, I am so excited because we have an amazing interview today. You guys know I do a lot of solos, but you guys really love when I bring on guests, other business owners, people who can share their basically what they've done, their own business, all of their success, maybe some of the struggles along the way. And I'm excited to introduce you to Danielle Barr. Do you go by Danielle Nicole Barr? I know you have three names, but
Danielle. Nicole's my middle name. I go by
okay.
Dan. Yes.
Amazing. So we have Nicole Barr on today, and I'm so excited to have her because she and I have been working together for the last several months. She came on an FBA last September, and now we are working together in the strategy lab. And it's been really fun for me to have a front row seat to all of Danielle's success and all the things that she's been doing. And she has an interesting background. So I would love for you to introduce yourself to the listeners. Tell them a little bit about your background and how you got to this point of wanting to start this fitness business online.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks, Jill. It's really exciting to be on here. I do think I have a little bit of a different background than some other folks who maybe have joined FBA in the past, although I don't know everybody certainly, but I have worked in corporate. I still work in corporate. I work a full 9 to 5 corporate job, and I worked in corporate for a long time. I've been at my current company almost 10 years. I've also been a group fitness instructor for a long time, almost 10 years too. So I teach at a studio here where I live, and health and wellness has always been a really big part of my life, but it was always just like a side part of my life. I had 2 kids. I taught group fitness all the way through both of my pregnancies. I mainly teach bar classes. And so I did all that. COVID happened. I took a break from the studio and now I'm back. And what I found is I really missed being active. So last year I decided like I need to really find something in my life where I can be active on top of the corporate job I'm doing, on top of kids, husband, everything we have. And so I started sharing some of that online, and it's kind of started a little side business for me, and it's been great. And I can go into more detail as we dig in.
Yeah. So when you say I really needed to get back to doing something, I know, because I definitely want to talk. I know that you're very active on TikTok, and I know that's where you've grown like a pretty large following. And I want to talk about that versus something like Instagram or Facebook. But when you say that you wanted to get back into fitness or doing something for you, in addition, was that in addition to the classes? And you were like, okay, I'm going to go on was it like my own fitness journey, my own health journey, and kind of share along the way with an audience?
Yes, I can tell you exactly what happened. So last summer, I think it was around June time, I was so busy at corporate. I was on client calls all day. And then I would give myself a hard time when I wouldn't make it to a full hour-long class. I was like, oh my gosh, I skipped my workout today. I wasn't feeling great. I was crabby. I'm like, man, I really needed to get that in. It just helped with my mental state, as most of us probably know. And so what I started doing in between meetings, I work from home full time. I kept a set of weights on my kitchen counter and I would pick them up and start doing short little 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute sets when my coffee was brewing or when I was making dinner and like letting the soup simmer, whatever it was. I just started moving more. My kids started doing it with me. And
So
so I
cool.
just started kind of adding on these movements. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to share some of this. And I did start on TikTok. I was mainly on TikTok because I was learning it for my corporate job anyway. So I started posting these things. I started posting tiny little, usually 1 minute videos to fun songs. And I just encourage people like, hey, pick it up. Next time you have a free minute, pick up your weights. I didn't really know it would snowball into what it did, but I started getting all these messages saying, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like I used to give myself such a hard time because I couldn't make it to the gym, or I'm in my 60s and I don't quite know like what I should be doing. And so I started getting these messages and I just committed to being consistent. I was doing it anyways. And so I started sharing 1 time a day and then twice a day and up to 3 times a day because it was easy and fun for me to
Mm.
do. So yeah, I mainly started on TikTok. It's been great. I'm getting kind of close to 95,000 followers on TikTok, and I've been a little bit shy to post on other channels just because TikTok felt like a nice little bubble for me. But I can hear you in the back of my mind, like, Danielle, post on Instagram, post on Facebook. Like, also, I know that's where my audience is, the niche that I'm really trying to work with. And so I just recently started doing that over this last week.
I love this so much. And I want to point out a couple things. I have a lot of questions about this. I want to point out to everyone listening that it doesn't have to be rocket science. Like what you're talking about is literally like, I'm doing this anyway. I'm literally just going to turn the camera on and like show myself doing it and then not overthink it and then just post right to
Yeah.
TikTok. And
Yeah.
so when you say like you're posting 3 times a day, right? I think someone listening is going, oh my God, like I'm overthinking a single post to the point where I talk myself out of posting it or I need more certifications or I have to make sure that I have a top degree or a top credential in order to do this. What I'm hearing you say is like, it can be these very super simple things. And that's what actually has gotten you so much traction, especially on TikTok, is like, this isn't rocket science. I'm not at a PhD level of biochemistry. It's like, I'm just literally sharing what I'm doing. And why do you feel like the posts that you were doing on TikTok really picked up? Because you were meeting your ideal client where they were? Like, what were they, just accessible? What do you feel like is maybe the thing that worked the best?
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't even really know who my ideal client was. So when I was teaching in the studio, I'm teaching folks like my age. I'm 37. I'm teaching women who are lifting heavier, who are doing these long workouts. And then what I started to find is as I was posting these 1 minute videos, sure, I'd get some trolls like, this does nothing for your body. I'm like, "Hey, that's not the point. The point is not to like, hey, do a minute and you're immediately going to have like a six pack. The point is we all have tiny moments during our lives where we could pick up weights or go for a walk, and so I was just doing that personally. And so I decided to share it. And what I started to notice is that I gained this following of women who, usually in their 60s, I have some 50s too, who want to pick up weights and they're being told we need to lift heavy and we need to do it daily. We need to make this a part of our lives. We all know this. Like, we know weightlifting is so important. I also want these ladies to lift heavy, but if they're too intimidated to start lifting heavy, what's the downside to picking up a set of 2 or 3 pound weights and starting small? Like, let's find joy in movement first and then move along the way. And so that's kind of where I started, because I'm like, I'm just going to share this stuff. I'm actually having fun here. Like, I wouldn't make a big deal out of it. I wouldn't put a mic on. I would flip my phone, put it on my kitchen counter downstairs in front of a window, and in 5 minutes, I could film 4 1 minute videos and be done. And then I have content for the week and I would just post it. And I started getting such great feedback in my comments and stuff. But what really surprised me is that I got all these DMs from ladies like, you've inspired me to move for the first time in my life ever, because I never thought I could do just 1 minute. But now I'm doing 5 of your 1 minutes. And like next week, I hope to do 7 of them. And so it kind of just spiraled from there,
I love
in
it.
a really good way. Yeah.
It's so, and from the business perspective, the idea, like, I think this is so approachable. I think sometimes, as fitness professionals, especially if you have been in the industry for a long time, I mean, you obviously have too, as teaching classes, I think it's really easy to fall into the trap of needing to impress your peers, right? Where you go like, okay, well, this isn't good enough because there's that one person I look up to. And if they happen to see this, they're going to think this isn't good enough or whatever. We have all these weird sort of sensitivities. But what I love about this is, number one, you were just documenting, right? This is called documentation content. It's literally like, let me just turn the camera on. It doesn't have to be every second in the teacher role, teaching the high level science or whatever. This is so accessible and anyone can do this. This is why I love like whoever's listening to this and being like, oh, does, really overthinking their post, to go like, actually, this is just documentation content. And honestly, I think about this a lot. If I was starting my online business now, when I was a fitness pro, I would literally just be sharing everything on stories. Here's what I'm eating. Here's where I'm going. Here's the workout that I'm doing. Here's my lunch. Here's my dinner. Like, I would like all day long just share these little things. And it sounds like that's kind of what you were doing. If you're posting 3 times a day, like, here's 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. And it's not surprising to me that that caught on. So I know that your demographic is actually a little bit older. So this is a little bit different. You work with ladies like 50s, 60s, 70s. But you are obviously in your 30s. How does that end up shaking out? Is it just the messaging, do you feel like, attracted that ideal client? Because I think we have people listening who are like, I think I want to work with a different demographic than me, but how do I call that person in?
Right. I'll actually tell you exactly. Like, it's interesting that it's formed this way, but I like could not be happier because listen, this is like my mom's demographic, right? My mom, my mother-in-law, all of my friends who are in their 30s who have mothers who know they need to increase their bone density, they need to pick up weights, but they don't know how. Now, like, my friends and I will talk about it and we're like, they need to be doing this, but how can they do it more easily? And so they're starting to get involved too. And I also didn't know this demographic was on TikTok. And it's
I
one
know.
of the reasons I'm like, I need to be on Instagram and Facebook, because I know they're watching reels. But they're on TikTok. They're not posting themselves, but they're watching and they're saving a lot of things and they're messaging me and they're saying, like, thank you so much. Like, your smile alone made me buy a set of 2 pound weights. Like, they'll message me and say, I got this message yesterday and I was laughing so hard. She said, Danielle, I was in Dick's Sporting Goods and I was wanting to buy a new set of weights and I picked up a pair of fives and I played one of your videos and did it to see if I could do it and I couldn't yet. So I'm going to stick with threes. And I was
That's so
like,
cool.
I can just imagine you doing this right now. And I'm like so proud of you. It's so exciting. So that's kind of where it has landed. I actually like the reason TikTok kind of got popular for me is I just did something that was natural to me. Last year, people were doing in June, I think, a squat challenge on TikTok. It was like do 7 squats, whatever, pulses to a song. And I did it. And then overnight, I had 20,000 views. And now it's at 6.4 million views. And I never expected that to happen. But when I did it, I realized actually, okay, people are looking for this easy little content. So I'm going to do a whole upper body. And that's what I mainly focus on is upper body. But now people are asking for more. So I've started to launch some new programs because my audience is asking for it. And it's been really fun to put together.
Yeah. So that actually is the question. So it's like, all right, you're working a corporate job, you are teaching some fitness classes in person, you start your TikTok, you start going viral on there, start building this following, getting a lot of great feedback. What made you say, you know what, maybe I should hire a business coach, a fitness business coach to help me make something of this? Like, what was that moment you were like, I want to monetize this?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I think a lot of people know you. They've known you for a while. Maybe they listen to your podcast. I actually didn't. I probably came in from one of your Facebook ads, I'm assuming, and I started thinking, "Wow, I could do this." And I personally have a background in marketing. That's what I do. I know how to build a funnel. I know I need to get people to my newsletter list. I do this for clients all day long. And so when I started to gain traction, I'm like, I need to do this and I want people to connect with me, but I didn't know the fitness side of it. I didn't know like what people were looking for in terms of small group coaching pods, how to launch a beta offer, how to put together a membership. Like those things, I could have Googled them, but I wanted to work with someone who's been there. And now that I've worked with you for a few months, I'll go on my morning walks in the morning. I'll just go to FitBizU and I'll search like for the problem I'm having or the thing I'm thinking about doing next. And I find your episode and I'm like listening to it. I'm like, oh gosh, Jill's been there. This is why I'm doing this because she's been there and she's giving me this advice. So it's really, really helped because I was hesitant to join and it's a big investment, but also it's totally paid off. And I thought in my mind, I know this stuff. I can do this. So why do I need someone else? And this is the first time I've ever hired anyone like this. And it's been amazing because it just keeps you accountable and it makes you push yourself further. And I've learned so much. So it's been great.
Yeah. I love that so much because you have a little bit of a different story. And I do remember back in, I think it was September, we had this conversation. You're like, I do have a background in marketing. So it makes sense that you be hesitant. And I think there's a lot of people listening who would go like, yeah, like I kind of get the gist. And I don't know how to describe it. It's like if you're looking from the outside looking in, it looks almost like common sense, right? So for, and you know this, I always say that marketing is common sense, but only in retrospect. Like if I tell you how I sold you, you're like, oh yeah. But like in the moment that you're being sold, you don't feel like you're being sold. And I'm like, remember when I did that? And you're like, oh yeah, I did feel that way. So in a lot of ways, I do believe that people think marketing is kind of common sense. I could just post on Instagram, I could post on TikTok and post on Facebook. But what you are saying is when I joined something like FBA, now I'm like on the inside and I'm like, oh, there's all these things that I didn't even know existed
Right.
that I couldn't know existed if I'm not actually in the business and trying to build a business.
Yeah, exactly. And I can give you a perfect example of that because I joined and I was live on every call. Like I joined in, I didn't ask a ton of questions. I was listening in and really taking in all the feedback, listening to every single question that came in. And then after our live calls ended, I thought, I need to start doing more, but also like I didn't need to rush it until I was ready for what my audience was asking for. So when I started getting these influx of messages like, hey, how can I work with you? Hey, how can we do more than 1 minute workout? I went to FBA. I searched how to build a wait list for a beta program, followed it to a T, and I launched my first wait list and beta program. And now we're in week 2, and it's been amazing. I've had some really great results, and I would not have known how to put that together if I didn't have like a training and you to go back to.
I love it. It's so good. Yeah. So I do want to talk about that a little bit. So tell me a little bit about your results because I think this is the thing. It's like, okay. And I always say this. I'm like, a following is not a business, right? And I love, you need the attention, right? You need the attention of people paying attention to what you're doing. It doesn't have to be a massive following, but you do need attention somewhere. You obviously have a background in marketing. So you're like, I know I need to get TikTok people off of TikTok and get them into my email newsletter. So then how did you start doing that? Because you're like, okay, if I really want to launch something, I do need to gather some leads somehow. So did you go to TikTok? Did you go to Facebook? Did you go to Instagram? What was maybe the carrot that got them off of social media and into your wait list?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad, like, I'm not going viral anymore, which I'm actually kind of glad, because now my videos, I'm getting like the same people watching them and it's the same people commenting. I'm like, okay, great. I found my audience. They're here for a reason. When I started getting all these views and people reaching out to me, I'm like, I need to put up, I just need to put up a newsletter list and commit to emailing it once a week. I email once a week. I've done everything organically. I've not gone to paid advertising yet. It's on my plan to do at some point, but everything's organic. And I would just start peppering it into my content. I would say, hey, you're asking me for more. I started this newsletter. Go ahead, put your name on the list. You can unsubscribe at any time. Every single newsletter they get from me, there's a little thing in it that says, hey, you're on here because you joined up for one of my challenges, or you put your name on, and you can always unsubscribe. And I just use that as a way to connect to them. And my open rates have been really strong. And then also what I did was I started doing movement challenges on TikTok. I did long ones. Like, I think we've talked in the past, like 7 days max. I started by doing a 30-day movement challenge, but it was all minutes. And it was like, here's my minute. I'd come on, talk about the muscle group we were working, and then they'd press play and they do it with me. All I did was put together one PDF in Canva that had a checklist for all the days. And I said, hey, keep yourself accountable by downloading the checklist and mark it up. People started printing it out. They put their name on the list. They got on my newsletter, and then they would share photos with me of things they were checking off. So it was just like a simple one pager. That's all I've done to grow the newsletter list so far. I'm sitting just over 1,400 women on
Amazing.
there.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so
That's huge.
I emailed them once a week. And then when I decided I'm going to put together my first group coaching pod, all I did was email that list of 1,400 women. And I said, I'm thinking of doing this thing. It's going to be a smaller coaching. You're going to one-on-one time with me, and you're also going to be with other women who are in the same exact spot as you. And I was like real niched in who I was accepting for it. If you're interested in hearing more, click this button to add yourself to the wait list. And some did. So out of the 1,498 people joined this wait list. And so then I was going to wait. I'm like, I'm going to wait and build this product before I launch it. But I went to the strategy lab group, and everybody was like, don't wait. You have 98 people who said they want to hear more from you. So I took them along for the journey. I just said, hey, okay, you're on the list. Here's what I'm thinking. The content is done. The structure is ready. And it's very, very specific. We're not starting with high or long movement. We're starting with 5 minutes of movement 3 times a week. And over 4 weeks, we're going to progress to 20 minutes. So they're doing 5 minutes with me, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And it's exactly for these women. And then in the emails that I would send out, I'm like, let's vote on the name now. Here's the 3 names I'm considering
So cool.
for the program, and they would vote it. Let's vote on the best time for a live call. They would vote on it. And at the time I was doing all this, I knew I didn't want to accept too many people. Like, I was thinking I'd sit for sure less than 20, but probably more comfortable around 10 to 15 people. And so then I finally just like launched it. I said, hey, we're launching this thing. Here's the landing page. Sign up. I put it up, $99, 4 weeks with me. They get 3 workouts a week, but live coaching too. And we have a private community and we talk, et cetera. But launched it. And when I sent the email out, I thought, I'm either going to get all 98 people at once, or I'm going to get no one, which is totally unrealistic. I went back and listened to your podcast on launching because I was like waiting for these numbers to come in and psyching myself out. I got 1 sale in the first hour. I wrote this stuff down so I wouldn't forget it. And then by the end of the first day, I had 6 sales. And by the end of the 4th day, I had 12. And I was going to close it up. But I kept getting some messages like, hey, I really want to join. Is this right for me? And so I did a final post and said, closing cart tomorrow. If you want in, this is exactly who it's for. If this isn't you, hang tight. We'll do something in the future. And I ended up with 16 women in the group for 4 weeks with me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I think this is a couple of things here. What is really genius, and it is definitely great from a marketing perspective, is the inclusion, right? So you went to them and said, hey, I'm thinking about this. And like when people feel like their voice matters, right? When they feel recognized and they feel acknowledged, they're much more likely to want to be a part of something. So, people ask like, how do you make community online? How is community possible online? It's like stuff like this, where you have 16 or 14 people on an email list. And then some of them decide to join a wait list. And just so everyone's listening, one of the really important things to remember is like when someone joins a wait list, to me, that's like amazing. They are literally opting in just to hear about a sale. Like that's crazy to me. That there's no benefit, there's no value except for the fact that you're going to get first dibs or you're going to get some kind of exclusive bonus or discount or whatever. And to have, what is that? Like 8% or something of your total amount opt in for the waitlist is huge. And then typically, and we know this because we talk metrics a lot in both FBA and Strategy Lab. The Strategy Lab, just for everyone who doesn't know, is my more intermediate program. So Danielle sort of graduated from FBA and went into that. And we talk about metrics quite a bit. And typically we see a 10 to 15% conversion from waitlist to paid. And I think there's a misconception like you had where it's like, if they sign up for the waitlist, surely they're going to purchase. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I wish, right? I wish it was like 50% of people. They just, oftentimes people are just lurkers or they just want to know about the deal or whatever. Or it might take them a couple launches to say yes. We know that for us, it takes people about three times to go through FBA to say yes. And so you had 16 people, which is right on par with your metric. So I'm like, yes, this is a great launch. And it sounds like it was actually fairly chill as well. It was like, cool, I get to do this. I'm excited about it. It's very organic. And it wasn't like a hard sell. It wasn't a forceful sell. It was mainly like, do you want to do this with me? And extending an invite, which I think is really great.
Yeah, 100%. I didn't want it to feel like people were getting sold to. I really wanted women in who wanted to commit to it and be a part of it because I knew it would be more successful. I'm like, they had to be in their 50s or 60s. They had to be brand new at weights. And then I got feedback from them. They signed up and most of them said, yeah, I picked up my first set of weights last June when you started posting on TikTok. Like, I don't even know I'm on TikTok, but now I'm on TikTok because of you. And so now we're meeting live and these ladies, like they turned their videos on when we had our first call. They picked up their weights. We're like sharing things in our group about what we're having for dinner. And it's kind of like spiral. It's been great. And on that waitlist email, when I started, I just would sit up at night. I'd like, we'd work all day. My husband and I have dinner, put the kids to bed. He's working on something. I'm working on something. I'd be sending these emails till midnight at night. So it's ready to go out the next day. And I'd say, hey, here's the name. Here's the method that we're working through. It's the 5 to 20 method. By the end of 4 weeks together, you're going to be able to do 20 minutes of movement. And I'm going to ask you for feedback along the way because I want to know how this is working for you.
Yes.
And those emails, the waitlist emails had, a 90% open rate. People were
Crazy.
opening them. They were excited to see what the next thing was. They'd send me a private message and reply back to the email with questions or comments. And so it's been really, really great. Now we're in week 2 and I'm planning to launch more.
Well, I was going to say, especially because this is a brand new offer. So there's no testimonials, right? There's no feedback. There's no success stories now. So this is an example of what could be a signature offer that you end up scaling from here because now you'll have people, there's, some social proof there. So I want to get into maybe what you would tell someone because I know you've mentioned corporate job, you've mentioned a couple of kiddos, and also like teaching fitness classes and building the online business. Someone's listening to this. This is a big thing that we hear around. Obviously, we're launching FBA this week. How much time is this going to take me? Like, what advice would you give to someone who's going, God, it really sounds amazing what Danielle has created. I could see myself doing something like that. How much time, energy, where does your mindset have to be in order to juggle all that you're juggling?
Yeah, I think here's the thing. FBA, I never would have done any of this if I didn't join it because I knew once I joined and I paid, I was going to commit to it. And that was exactly what I needed to push myself to do this. This is like hobby's not the right word, but it's something I'm doing on top of all my other things. And I've found time for it because it brings me joy. And so, yeah, I'm staying up late nights and doing these things, but the feedback I'm getting is amazing. And I just see this future where I can really scale this thing and it feels so good. And so I would say if people are wondering about the investment or how they're going to fit it all in, like I said earlier, I went to your live calls. I did the FBA calls. I saw people on camera. Sometimes I didn't have camera and I was juggling other things. I listened and then the calls ended and I realized I can go back to this content anytime. And I do weekly. I go back to it weekly and I rewatch the trainings. I look at the PDFs you have in there and I'm like, this is exactly what I need to take the next step in what I want to do. Like I've since launched a DIY product that ladies can self-pace through. I have 67 women in there. I'm doing the group coaching thing. And I'm like, 4 months ago, I never would have even thought of how to do that. Like, I'm not doing any one-on-one coaching right now. And I don't think that's really what I want to do long term. But I never would have known to put these things together. And you make the time for it. Also, it's exciting. Like, the energy is fire. Like, people are excited to be in there. A lot of the ladies have much bigger fitness backgrounds than I ever had, but everyone's coming in at their own kind of level and everyone's just excited to learn and support each other. And that has like meant so much to me because it made me focus and really, make the time to make it happen.
Yeah, I love that. And it really speaks to, I always say that passion is your biggest compliance tool. It's like, and I remember having a very similar situation. I'd be at the gym and it took me 2 years to quit my full-time job after I started my online business. And I would get home from the gym at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, shower, and then I'd be like working and writing blogs until midnight, and it's not that you, it's not, that's not sustainable. But if you love it, I remember being like, people would say, Jill, I check your blog before I even check my email in the morning. I'm like, I got to get the blog up for the people, right? There is this feeling of, now I'm on the hook. So I love that you mentioned, if I'm going to commit to it, I'm going to pay. I'm going to show up like that. I'm going to make that commitment to myself. And I do think that that is, can be scary for some people. Gosh, oh, Jill's really going to hold me to it. Like if I make this investment now, I'm really on the hook to do stuff. So what would you say to someone who feels like maybe is a little fearful, not only of the financial investment, but I think more of the energetic investment, because there is this feeling of like, oh, now I'm going to be held accountable to following through on the thing that I said I wanted to do.
Yeah, here's the one thing I'd say. Like, I think everyone listening, or I'm gonna just assume everyone listening, has signed up for a free webinar and then they don't go to it, right? And you get the email and it's like, here's your free webinar if you wanna go and listen to it again. And then no one goes back to listen to it. I've done that a million times. Like, yes, this sounds good. I wanna learn from this. This is the first time where I'm like, this is something I'm committing to and I'm gonna do it. And when I joined that first call, I was like pleasantly shocked how many people were on there. Everybody was like engaging, asking comments in the chat. You know what you're talking about. And so it feels very like attainable and realistic. And yeah, you hold us accountable, but it's not like you're gonna come knock on someone's door if something happened, right? And I'm assuming maybe you hear from people like a year later, hey, I'm finally getting into this and really digging in. I tried to move like pretty quickly just because I felt the energy from you and I was excited to get it going. Yeah, it's just a really good environment because you're with all these women who, well, women am on, I should say, people who are trying to do what you're doing too. And the energy is good and it's exciting. And you feel confident that you can ask questions and get feedback back without any judgment, which is great.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned that because that is really something we try to do. Cause I know, I mean, I've definitely joined programs where I'm like, I don't really love the energy of the group. So I find myself disengaging. I'm like, I don't really want to go because it's kind of boring. Like I signed up for this one thing and the person, all they did was hot seats. That was the entire thing. There was like no teaching and no, like I think you and I are very similar where we like the strategy stuff and we like really want to learn and we kind of, pick up things quickly. And I remember going to these calls and I'm like, God, these are just hot seats. These are boring. And I just like would stop going. And so one of the things, and I love that you mentioned this, Danielle, is like we have an 83% compliance rate, which means like 83% of FBA students come to every single call for the entirety of the thing. Completion rate in the industry is like 10 to 20%. And so
Amazing.
people like coming to the calls. It's like, it's because oftentimes people are like, if I'm not there, I'm going to miss something critical, or I want to make sure that I get that gem or that download or whatever it is. And so I love that you mentioned that because it's one of those things that you can't really, I don't know, have people experience until they're in it. It's like how do you help someone see what it's like to be on an FBA call until they invest? And so I love that you had mentioned that too. Last question is, what, I guess you mentioned that you don't want to do one-on-one, which I think is great. I think some people start with one-on-one and they do that, but you obviously had a little bit of an audience. Group stuff. I love that you mentioned that you had like 67 people purchase your DIY. So if you're listening to this, maybe you've gone through something like Post to Profits, or you've listened to other episodes of FitBizU where I go through the 3 different types of offers: the one-on-one coaching, the cohorts, which can also be a group coaching pod like Danielle's doing, and then a DIY or a course offer. What would you say to someone who is maybe thinking about FBA, but is maybe overwhelmed? Like this is a big, and obviously you spoke to a little bit with all the things you have going on, but they're on the fence and they're thinking, I think I'm going to wait. I think I'm going to wait till next time. Maybe I'll wait till later this year. And like, there are sort of valid reasons for this. I get it. Everyone's different. But what would you tell someone who is maybe just thinking they're going to wait because they have to gather more information, or they just need to take a little bit more time, or they're going to try and do it on their own, or all the reasons why they would wait? What would you tell someone?
Yeah, I just would tell them that they don't have to have everything figured out now. Like I joined FBA and I was like, I'm going to learn so much and then I'm going to figure it out. And also hearing you and everyone else on the call just say like this, I feel like I hear this on your podcast all the time, but take messy action. It's like so true. I can be a perfectionist. And so I'll like sit and dwell on something for so long before I actually go into launching anything. But on my DIY course, like I took a mic and my iPhone and I filmed it in my house in front of my fireplace, a 12 video series that 67 women have joined. When I did that, I got feedback from people and they're like, wait, you're charging for something like that? People can get free stuff on YouTube. I'm like, 100%. Anyone can go to YouTube and get free stuff. I watch free stuff on YouTube. But women are asking me, how do we put together your minutes in an easy way? And listen, the DIY thing was 24 bucks. Like I ran a flash sale for $19 and I was like, is this too expensive? But women joined. I didn't even ask for like testimonials on it and I'm getting them weekly. And so what I would say to someone is just, you'll do it because you're excited to do it. And you'll say, I'm just going to try this thing. And if it doesn't work, I'll move on to something else. And if I don't film it perfectly at first, that's okay. I can redo it. There's things to try. And just like investing in yourself and saying, I'm going to do this thing and commit to it is the number one thing that's going to get you to do it. Because I could have also waited. And if I did wait, which I didn't know you that long, so I was really hesitant to be like, yeah, I'm going to do this and jump right in. But if I didn't, I wouldn't have been doing any of this. I'd just wait another year and then I'd listen to your podcast and be like, man, I should have joined. And so I think it's good for people to just jump in, and it's just really a way to hold yourself accountable in a really great environment.
Yeah. And it sounds like you have a level of self-trust too, where you're like, all right, like I think that Jill could be the person for me, and I'm going to go in, and I'm also going to just be very open to what I'm going to do, but I'm going to show up to the calls. It's funny that you mentioned that because whenever I interview any FBA alum, I'll be like, tell people what it takes for success. And they'll be like, well, I just listened to the calls and then I just implemented what was in the training. Like it's not rocket science. And so I do think we make a lot of, there's a lot of stories around it, how hard it has to be and all these kind of things. And it could just be as simple as what you shared, which is I just listened to the call. Sometimes I did my video on and I just knew that if I invested, then I would just hold myself to it. And I do think there's something so important. We always say that the transformation starts with the transaction. I agree with you. There's so much free content. But despite all of the free trainings and business, all the free stuff, why don't people take action? And I think you and I are the same. It's like, okay, if I pay, I'm going to pay attention. Like I'm going to make this deal with myself. Hey, Jill, if you're investing this, you're going to show up. You're going to put it on your calendar. You're going to sit there no matter what else you're doing. You're going to listen to it. You're going to, expose yourself to the conversation. And then you're going to be gentle with yourself as you implement it. You're going to implement in your own timeline, your own pace, whatever works for you and your competing priorities. And I just really love this because it's a testament to someone who has a passion for something and is like, let me access the playbook to like learn how to actually do this. And then have had massive success just in like 4 or 5 months, which is just so amazing.
Yeah. And maybe people are hesitant because they're like, I have a trip coming up or I have like a really busy summer, but also it's like a library that you get access to forever. And so you go to it and you can always go to any training that you need. So it's not like if you can't join the live call, you miss out on it. You get full access and everything's recorded. So that always felt really good to me too, because I'm like, I know I can jump back in whenever the time is right for me.
So good. Well, you're amazing. Where can people find you? Where can they connect with you? Give me all the details.
Yeah, sounds great. So I just finally started posting on Facebook and Instagram. My handle is at Danielle Nicole Barr. On TikTok, it's Hey, I'm Danielle. Maybe we can just put that in the show notes. I'll send it over to you. But yeah, people can reach out to me if they have any questions. I've heard from a couple people who are looking to join FBA. They've reached out to me and I'll be totally honest with them about how it's been. So yeah, folks can reach out to me at any time.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I never tell you guys what to say. I'm always like, just be super honest. And you know this, like you've been in this space for a long time. Like there are challenges. I never want to be like, it's, you're going to get the result within, like so easy. But I think you hit the nail on the head. And I feel like the theme and sort of the common thread of this entire conversation was, if you're excited about what you're doing, you're going to do it. Like you have this passion, you want to help people, you're getting some traction, like the energy is addictive, you're going to show up for yourself.
Right.
And so, yeah, you'll be willing to push through a lot of challenges if you're pumped and you feel like you really want to get it out there. So,
And I'll just say one more thing as someone
yeah.
who's spent 15 plus years in corporate marketing and working with clients, like you know your stuff, Jill. Like everything you teach, I'm like, oh yeah, this is exactly why I invested in this because she knows exactly what she's talking about, but from a fitness and health lens, which is so important. And so it's kind of really cool to see how you niche down so that people who are personal training or, teaching classes can do something like this because the information is just, it's gold. It's really, really great. I so appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate that too. That's amazing. And I do think, I remember you being on, I think, Profitable Online Coach back in September, and you had commented something like, I've been in marketing for 15 years and Jill's right on, or something like that. And I was like, oh, thanks. And it is, of course, it's a little bit different within the fitness and nutrition space. And of course, people can go and work with a business coach that's has like more of a global sort of thing. But if you are in the fitness, health, nutrition space, that's obviously my background. And I've worked with so many people in that space. And so, yeah, it is a little bit different, but I appreciate that vote of confidence.
Yeah.
You're the best. Well, thank you so much. We'll put Danielle's info in the show notes if you guys want to reach out or you just want to follow her and connect with her and see what she's up to. That would be amazing. And Danielle, you're the best. And I will see you in the strategy lab.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Jill. Thanks for
You
having me.
got it.
Bye.
Bye.